Brought to you by MetaJuice.
Hello, welcome to Blockchain in the Metaverse. I'm your host, Futurist Amelia Kallman. Today, I am joined by Web3 expert and business strategist, Peg Samuel. So what's been your experience with digital collectibles and where do you think they're going?
Great question. So if I'm collecting, right, then I think it can be like art or my closet, my virtual closet. So let's talk metaverse. So for me, I've always like leaned towards having one that might have my same care for some reason. Like I look at my like collectible thing and they might somewhat, I identify them looking with me, even if it has blue skin, whatever. I like the art, I like the community, I like the interest, I like just learning the tech from doing. And then where we get into metaverse and like, I've built like space in Decentraland, like, and dress my avatar and then have the clothes over there and had done partnerships with different startup brands, let's say, for designing clothes. And in view, same thing. I dress my avatar. She looks a certain way. I can buy like I love the creator economy that I can buy clothes from other creators. I think that's super interesting, and I'm sure we'll deep dive into that. Um, what I'm looking forward to is like the interoperability. So for me, interoperability is I can bring my clothes from my virtual closet from Decentraland dematerialized and InView and have like all of my goodies, whichever metaverse I walk into. And hopefully it's somewhat seamless walking in. And I don't know how many years out that could be, but I know if I've thought of it, like I know we're thinking about it as a company, but also like probably all the players are as well, because you think about it from a community standpoint, why wouldn't you want to bring like your magic sneakers from one to the other?
Yeah. Well, and I think I totally agree with you. And I think that the first wave of interoperability and maybe the only wave, I mean, we don't know how this is all going to play out, is going to be
Hmm.
that I can take my avatar, my assets, and my stuff with me from one to another, whether we're going to get all these different metaverses to play together
Hmm.
and share
Yeah,
data and, be friends and that kind of stuff. I think that's yet to be seen.
it actually turns out like the metaverse, people want to do it, but the technology is like really hard right now to do it. So it's like, okay, when I think about it like mass adoption, it's like, okay, we're in the AOL CD-ROM phase of what's happening here. So
Yeah.
it's so early in garage style that it's just not even. I agree. I thought it would be the players of like who owns the companies, but it's really like the tech is the biggest obstacle for each one. Because
Yeah.
if you think about how the avatars, I can resonate with that because I think about how my avatars look in each one. And it's like, well, yeah, it's vastly different. So I don't know the tech, but it would be cool if she could just jump to another metaverse and like if she looks boxy, just like she just changes to that one somehow magically.
Yeah. So recently we saw what happened in the Hermes case, winning against the artist who had made the Meta Birkin bags and was selling
Hmm.
NFT Meta Birkin bags. And it sort of, is an interesting precedent case for IP
Hmm.
and NFTs. What was your thoughts on that?
Yeah, great question. I actually didn't know how it turned out. So that's good to know. Honestly, like with if the word Birkin is specific to them, right? Then I think of like, well, it's kind of their IP, even if you're adding Meta. Like, what if you did Meta Starbucks? You don't think Starbucks would come calling? Like, absolutely. Or Meta Uber. Like Uber's its own made up brand name. Like, of course you're kind of potentially, I guess, ripping off the IP. Like, so I kind of stick on their side with a few of these, but if it's like a more ubiquitous, I think I have that word right for what I'm trying to say. It's like if it's a different word that everyday people use and one person uses it like a lot, like clutch, like wherever that came from, different. Like that's
Yeah.
kind of like you don't probably own the trademark on that. If it went the other way, it would have been kind of cool to see what the free for all was on the other way.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I'd be curious to see that. And
I know, right? Because the artist, his argument was that, Andy Warhol did the Campbell soup prints and that was art. It's
mhm,
not
yeah,
a copyright infringement and that he should be protected under the First Amendment for freedom of expression. So, I mean, I thought it was really
that is a good
interesting case,
That's a great angle. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great angle.
And I also thought it was funny that Hermes ended up winning. I think it was like 133,000, which is like the equivalent to about a third of the highest price Birkin bag.
Right, right. They're just protecting their brand though for, all the future stuff
Yeah.
probably. And yeah, but that does set an interesting precedence. Like, is it art or is it consumerism?
Yeah.
So they were arguing the art end, but really, I'm sure they made a lot of money off their Meta Birkins. So it's consumerism.
Right, right. And I'm sure the
Yeah.
artist is going to do okay from all the press that it brought him.
Oh, yeah.
It also introduced the term cyber squatting, which I hadn't heard before, saying that because Hermes was developing their own Birkin NFTs, that I guess he was cyber squatting on that territory or something. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, is it the same as like, remember when you could buy like any domain name or ENS name, right? And like grab the ones that you think may be popular someday.
Right.
And grab other people's brands.
So for someone who has experience kind of integrating Web3 technologies into Web2 games and metaverses in a way that adds value to its users, what have you learned, and any mistakes that you have learned from, and what would be kind of your best advice for people who know that it's moving in this direction and want to move in that direction too?
It's interesting how fast tech moves and how fast crypto moved since we had social media, right? Like, because we had social media, crypto moved as fast as a bullet train. Like, it ran up, it went down. And then we had crypto winter, and then like I said, Clubhouse and NFTs and learning, another run. And now we're in this development phase. But I'd say the nuances of getting into it is like knowing the market sentiment and what people are excited about, but also like, if you're a founder, founders usually fix a problem. So like we just listed like plenty of problems that somebody could come in and fix, right? And so if you're ultimately filling a need or fixing a problem, like I've had a lot of lifestyle brands, and it's like those potentially fill a need. Like we were talking before we started about like parties and nightclubs and things like that. You're filling a need for people to be entertained. And so if the need is entertainment, then there's different things that we can do in Web3, because now that's where we want to be, being the future, if you will. Or are we fixing like the UI? Are we making the self-custody easier? Like all the different things. So there's just like a vast amount of potential things. And then what do we kind of need today? What's the sentiment of the market? What kind of makes sense, and how can we solve problems? And also say, like with MetaJuice IMPU, it's like entertain and fix problems that maybe in the past, like having your own digital assets, like they're yours, you can resell them. And the other cool thing that's happening actually in the metaverse, we're creating jobs for people in the metaverse. So there's an InView, there's like their own influencers. So instead of doing the regular influencer stuff as your real body self, your avatar is an influencer. Or you could be a fashion designer in the metaverse. You don't have to live in New York City and be in the design district and being at all those things to now be like a fashion designer. You could live anywhere and do that. And those things, I think more jobs in that way will start to open up. And that really does change the world, when you can be remote completely in these careers that were mainly like New York, Milan.
No, absolutely. And I think that's something that I often talk to some of my corporate clients about. It's like, what are you doing to draw these younger generations into your workforce and into these industries, when actually they can be working for themselves and be making a living? This could be a really big impact on the future of society, on the future of work, on the future of commerce, all these kind of things,